1000% a smash. This is probably my favourite book that I read. Oh my god, this was freaking fantastic. And that hello my loves, and thank you for joining me. It's Kirsten and we are bringing back the monthly wrap-ups with a twist this time. So we are doing smash or pass for the books that I have read in the month of November. I was really wanting something a bit more entertaining than my usual just sit down chat about each and every book that I read during the month, and that's why I took a break from doing any monthly wrap-ups, but they are back. Hopefully you find this entertaining as much as I do, which will make it a bit more fun for you to watch. Regardless, let's have some fun with this. I don't know how this is going to go, but we're just going to try it. I have all the books that I've read just in a little pile in front of me. We're going to just randomly pick them up and let's give you a quick review of what I think. So, oh, actually, let's start off with the Kindle book that I read for the month, and that is The Never King by Nikki St. Crow. Write it down on a piece of paper because otherwise I'm going to forget about it. And you know what? Pass on this one. It is a dark romance book. It is a Peter Pan retelling with a bit of a twist. We have Peter Pan that comes along and steals the darlings once they turn, I think, is it 16 or is it 18? One of those two ages, and they get kidnapped and taken into Neverland. So we are following Winnie Darling, and she is terrified of going crazy. Like, she believes her mum's gone absolutely crazy. She's had a really difficult upbringing, so trigger warnings for a lot of like child abuse and stuff, so just bear that all in mind. Do check your trigger warnings on dark romance books before you go into them. So we're having Winnie, and Winnie's just always had to look after her mother, believes that her mum's gone a bit crazy whenever she's talking about Peter Pan until the day of her birthday, and then she realizes, oh, my mom was telling the truth, and so she goes into Neverland against her will, discovers everything from there. It is quite dark. I was talking about it with my sister because she's read this one. She kind of summed it up better than what I could, which is it's smart but with practically no plot. The plot gets lost in it, and I think that's very true, although she did say, and so did Lucy from Read with Lucy, because that's actually where I first got the recommendation from. Love her channel, have her linked below, but they do say the second book is much better, but I haven't actually started that one yet. I am intrigued too, but I think I'll wait. But for that first book, I'm going to say pass. Like, it was an entertaining time, but is it something I'm going to reread? Unlikely. Moving on, we have The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Gabart. Smash. 100% smash. Loved this book so much. It's a second book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. This was freaking fantastic. I loved it so much. The ending though, Stephanie, come on, like, that was gut-wrenching, absolutely gut-wrenching. I mean, we were forewarned several times throughout the book. It did say ballads never end happily, and this is the Ballad of Never After, and oh my god, seriously. It is now a trilogy. It was originally going to be a duology. It's now a trilogy. A lot of people are a bit upset about that. I don't care. I was more than happy to have another book about these characters. We're following Evangeline. In the first book, Evangeline is going to Jax, who is a fate. Fates are basically almost godlike beings in a way. They have these powers and they will help people, but never the way that they want it to be. There's always a catch, and that's exactly what happens in this. Evangeline goes to stop a wedding that's taken place, and Jack stops it, but not in the way Evangeline wants, and the rest of the book is a series of like adventure and stuff that goes on from there. These are so predictable, so tropey, and but I don't care. That's the point of them. We are following a character who is so hopeful, so naive, thinks the best about everyone, is so trusting, and it gets her in so much trouble. This book was really predictable. It was so easy for things that was meant to be really hard. It was very easy, but I go into these for that cozy, fun time. I mean, this is a YA series, which I don't read a lot of YA fantasy at all anymore, but these capture my heart. I love them so much, and I cannot believe we've got to wait for that book and the way this ended, but 1000% a smash from me. I loved this book so freaking much. Magical, fun, cozy, cutesy, just Love it. Okay, we have The Madman's Daughter by Megan Shepherd. Smash. Really enjoyed this one as well. Completely different vibe. This is a more gothic horror book. This is a retelling of The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. I really enjoyed that classic book. It's very dark, very disturbing. I don't know what's happened to my lighting. Clouds. Having fun. And this is a retelling. We're following Dr. Moreau's daughter. This one takes place at the exact time of the original classic, which I really enjoyed. So all the events that are happening in that classic book lines up really well with the events that's happening in here. So in The Island of Dr. Moreau, you have someone that is shipwrecked and then taken to the island, and that also happens in this, but obviously we're following Juliette Moreau, and she is in London. She is borderline homeless because of the fact that everything that happened, the scandal with her father, she believes that he's dead. She's had to struggle with the fact that her mum's also died, and she is one step away from being homeless. She's gone from being a socialite to having nothing and having to work a lot. Then she realises that her father's still alive. So she travels with Montgomery, who's also mentioned in The Island of Dr. Moreau, to go back to the island and to find out what the hell's going on, why her father just left them and everything. And then along the way they have that shipwreck that happens, which happens in the original book, and so you meet the character from there, and it all goes on from there. And it's so good. It's very, very disturbing. Do check the trigger warnings in this. It is very true to the classic, and so you do have a vivisection of animals, obviously animal cruelty. There's a lot that goes on in this book, and there was moments in it where I had to put it down because it was so dark and disturbing, but the atmosphere was fantastic, and I do think it captured the essence of The Island of Dr. Moreau so well. This can be read as a standalone, but it is the start of a trilogy, and you can 100% bet I will be getting the next 2 books. I'm so excited. I found this one in a charity shop and I could not believe it. I love it so much. I've never heard anyone talking about it, but if you are like me and you like retellings of classics, do it. You'll be doing yourself a favour, so smash. A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I read this at the very start of the month. This was not part of my November TBR, but I had to put it in anyway because I was rereading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I say that, I only reread the 2nd and 3rd book. Okay, would I smash or pass this? If I'm going for a critical point of view of what this book actually is, the writing, then it would be a pass, but it's Sarah J. Maas, so I'm gonna go smash. It's one of those things that I love Sarah J. Maas books. I will always read them, I will always pick them up, and yes, I know they are not the best written, but I still really enjoy it. Like, this book, in all honesty, was too long. There was so many things that could have been better, but I still like them. And this is not my favourite book by hers by any means, but I do enjoy our characters that are in here, mainly the side characters. Feyre's perspective, I preferred it this time round, but generally speaking, Feyre is not my favourite character. So this series, in case you don't know, is starting off with a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. We're following Feyre, who's human, who then gets tangled up in the Feywild because she killed a Fey creature, because she's hunting for her family, because they are starving, and she ends up killing a Fey creature that is disguised as a wolf. She then also skins it and sells the pelt, which is like, okay then. But she then gets taken into the Fey world, where she comes across all sorts of monsters and things, and she has trials that she's got to overcome, and then it goes on from there. This book, as you may imagine from the war part, which is Wings and Ruin here, there is a war that is going on. A lot of things have changed since that first book, and it's just, I really enjoy it. The 4th book in the series is actually my favourite, which is A Court of Silver Flames, but I don't know, I was really feeling like rereading A Court of Mist and Fury, and once I'd read that one I couldn't then not read this one. It is a bit slow, it is a bit drawn out. I do think things could have been a bit better, but Sarah J. Maas will always be a smash from me. The Lies of Locmora by Scott Lynch, I'm gonna say a pass. Yeah, I'm gonna go with my gut here and say pass. I did enjoy this book. It's not bad by any means. It was fine, it was a good time, but that's it. Like, I don't think it's gonna stay with me, and again, thinking would I reread this? At the moment, I'm going to say no, I wouldn't. Whether that changes as it goes on, I don't know. This one, we're following Locmora, and he is a thief. He is part of this group called the Gentlemen Bastards, and you have a few different timelines. So at the start of the book, you'll have timelines in the past of him growing up, and then you'll have the present timeline where he's pulling off this quite big heist that's going on, but also manages to get tangled up in a lot of darker things that are actually happening. It is quite dark and gritty. There is a lot that goes on. A good way to compare it would be like Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. A lot more darker, grittier, more torture scenes. It's a lot more devastating in that effect than you will find with Mistborn. Also, Mistborn will have a lot more magic and stuff. This one, there isn't magic in it. It's basically like a found family that they've put together. They're group of thieves and they get in over their head so quickly, and it's so dark and difficult. Thing is, me talking about it, I did enjoy it. Like, I liked how dark and gritty it was. However, there was a point in this book where the past bits no longer happen, and so you were just getting the story broken up by lots of info dumping about this world, which I think was totally unnecessary and would take me out of the story. Also, towards the ending of this book, I think this book could have ended 100 pages earlier. It would have ended on a bit more of a cliffhanger, but then I would be a lot more incentivized to pick up the next book in the series. As it was, I felt like the ending was then rushed because it was more of a revenge thing that was happening, but it felt so rushed. That could have been a whole book in and of itself, and I would have preferred that and been, as I said, so much more interested in getting that second book. And so because that didn't happen, I felt like this wrapped up fine as just its own book, which there are a couple of things that could be expanded upon and would be interesting to see how it goes, but not enough for me to go, yeah, I'm going to pick up that next book. Also, take out the unnecessary info dumping about the world. Even the descriptions at times of things I was like glossing over because I don't think you needed that. Like, there was enough going on. Like, the characters were so well done. I loved their interaction. I loved the way they felt like actual family. I think all of that was done fantastically well. But the world building side to this was so dry, and it would just be like, plop, here's a load of information about the world, now we're going to carry on. And it's like, but why? Everything else about it was so interesting. You do have multiple perspectives, but it's easier to follow because they're all revolving around Locmora. You do have a few chapters where it's broken up into different timelines within the chapters. So this is quite interesting. It's broken up into different books. Within each book you have different chapters, and within each chapter you have different sub-chapters. But it worked really well, and there was a couple of points where I was like, I see what you did there, and I fell for that. I want to say smash so much, but those couple of things with it just, that I've already mentioned because I'm going to repeat myself otherwise, do stop it, and I'm going to say more of a soft pass. It could have been a full smash, but it's more of a soft pass just because those bits to me just bothered me, and if I'm going to choose this sort of a story, I'm going to reread Mistborn instead. It's a soft pass is what we're going to end up on. That was a really long way of saying that. Okay, then we have Gallant by V. Schwab. I'm going to say smash. I really enjoyed this one. This is V. Schwab's most recent book. It's aimed at more young adult. You could also argue middle grade. It's got that kind of thing to it. I would definitely say it's more young adult, just on the younger end. We are following our main character, Olivia, and Olivia is mute. And I found that representation really interesting. I think it was explored really well in this book. Really enjoyed that. I haven't really seen that as a main character before, but Olivia is in an orphanage and she's not very happy there at all, and then she discovers one day that she has family that she never knew about, and so she goes to Gallant, and then she realizes that nobody sent her a letter, nobody wanted her there, and she starts uncovering these really dark things. She can also see ghosts which play a part in everything, and it was just really interesting, really dark, almost like a Portal fantasy-esque situation as well. I really enjoyed it. The atmosphere was fantastic. Yes, go into it knowing that it is a bit of a younger read, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so fascinating, and we're just following Olivia, who all she wants is to have a family, belong somewhere. That's what she's fighting for, and then alongside that you have this darker fantasy story that's going alongside it. I think it worked really well. I think it worked better because I read it around this time of year when it first came out in March. Loads of people were saying like the atmosphere was really good, but I think some of it, them not enjoying it, would be because it was read so early in the year. Potentially, I could just be talking out my butt for that one, but I really liked it. It has had some mixed reviews, but I think if you just go into it knowing that this is a slightly younger, it's like aimed at a younger audience, I think you'd still enjoy it. I do think it is one that all ages could enjoy. I don't know, I just really enjoyed this. I think it's more of a slightly more cozy fantasy as well. Obviously darker themes because you're dealing with ghosts and stuff, but I I don't know, there's something about it where I'm just like, this was a nice cozy book that I think was really good for like transitioning out of Halloween into the end of the year. For some reason it just worked for me. Anyway, talking about an atmospheric book though, we have Small Favours by Erin A. Craig. I'm gonna say this one is a light smash. I really enjoyed the the atmosphere in this one. It is a horror book and we're in this small town following Ellery Downing. Ellery has lived in Amity Falls her whole life, is very secluded, cut off from the rest of the world by this really creepy forest that surrounds it. As a result, the town does feel like a bit of a cult. They have their own rules that you have to follow. They deal with lawbreakers and stuff in their own way. We're starting to realise that things are going really wrong. There seems to be monsters in the forest. Animals are coming out very like malformed. They've got like extra limbs that they shouldn't have or things like this. And then the town starts to fight amongst themselves. It starts ripping itself apart, and I really think the atmosphere was done so beautifully well. However, the ending was really rushed and it was a shame. Like, this book was split up into 4 parts. It was following the seasons and I think it did a really good job following the depictions of each season, but there was a couple of loose ends that never got tied up. Like I said, the ending was just a bit rushed. I think it could have been explored a lot more. I liked the elements that were pulled into it at the end and the explanation for it all, but it could just have been explored a little bit deeper rather than having everything just kind of wrap up so easily. The atmosphere in this was fantastic, and for that I would say give this a try if you do like that sort of atmospheric horror book. I didn't love it as much as some of the other books that I've read this much, but I did still really enjoy it, hence the soft smash. One that was definitely a pass for me is The Family Upstairs, and that's by Lisa Jewell. I actually haven't finished reading this. I got to page 202 chapter 29, which is almost halfway through, and I don't know, it wasn't working for me. I just did not find myself interested, which was a shame because I was intrigued. We are following a few different characters actually. I think that's the main problem with this book, is it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. We have this kind of mystery going on. We have a baby that's been found in this house in Chelsea, but there are 3 decomposing bodies in the kitchen. So they've been dead for a little while, but the baby is well kept and cared for, and they're like, well, who's been looking after this baby? So I was thinking, great, that's going to be our mystery. We might have 2 different timelines, one of the present day when they've just found the baby and one of the past building up to this. And you do have one of the past, which has definitely been my favourite part, but then the present day timelines are 25 years later and it's like, wait, what? And we're following 2 different perspectives and I just couldn't get into those 2 perspectives, and so 2/3 of this book I was just not enjoying. You have Libby, who is the baby. She's now grown up, she's now inherited this house, and she's just realised that who her parents were, the fact that she's got siblings, she doesn't know if they're still alive or not, the fact that there is this mystery surrounding it all, and now she wants to find out what's going on. And then you have Lucy, who is a single mother, homeless on the streets, but there's just things that happen in it that just I don't think you needed. Like, I don't think we need Libby's perspective as she's all grown up. I just don't understand why we couldn't have just learnt about this when she was younger as the baby. I also think Lucy is someone from the past, so maybe like Libby's sister, and we're now seeing her all grown up. She's trying to get back to England. She's currently in France. She's trying to get back to England. Got a notification on her phone that goes, the baby is now 25 years old, so definitely she's connected back to that. But there was a couple of scenes in here that happened with her perspective that I think were unnecessary, added nothing to the story. I think for the harder topic that it was dealing with, it should have been handled a lot better. I mean, I've read a lot of dark books, but this was pointless. And that's what I just can't agree with that, which I'm not going to say in case you do want to read this book, but for me, I didn't like that scene. And it was shortly after that scene that I was like, you know, I'm not going to read this anymore. I was buddy reading this with Christina. She did actually finish the book, but I said to her, like, I'm not enjoying this. I don't want to carry on. And she was just like, yeah, go ahead and DNF if you want to. I'm not going to say what she thinks about this book because obviously she does book reviews on her channel, so you'll have to check that out. But yeah, for me, this is a pass. It just didn't work. Okay, last two actually. So a book that I finished up last night is the Promise Neverland Volume 2, and this will be a smash from me. I really enjoyed this series. It is a darker manga series, but one that I'm really intrigued by. I cannot wait to continue on with this. We are following a group of 3 children who are at an orphanage, but this orphanage is not what it seems. It has massive stone walls that keep them all contained within this orphanage. They have tests that they have to do to keep track of like their intelligence scores and everything. Every so often a child will get adopted, but you don't ever see or hear from that child ever again, and you never see the people that actually come and adopt them, and it's very dark. And at the end of the first volume you realise exactly what is going on. This second volume was a bit slower paced. There wasn't as much like grand reveals and stuff, but I really enjoyed it, especially with them dealing with what they've just learned and what they're going to do about it. I don't know, I really enjoyed this one. I think it's good fun. It is a bit darker, but just, I don't know, I really like it. And the final book is 1000% a smash. This is probably my favourite book that I read. Oh my god, this was freaking fantastic, and that is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This was amazing. So another book that wasn't on my TBR for the month, but oh my god, I'm so pleased I picked it up. I did something I never normally do, which is buying a book and then reading it the very next day. Like, I haven't done that in ages because I'm so strict with my TBRs each month. I'm also very strict in not talking about a book until I've done a haul video, and then I'll let myself read them, unless of course they are anticipated releases, and so I've talked about it in my TBR for the month. I broke my own rules for this and I'm so pleased I did. It was so good. This is a cozy fantasy story and probably one of my new favourite comfort reads. It's so freaking fantastic. We're following Viv. She is an orc and she has decided to put her fighting ways behind her to open up a coffee shop. Honestly, if you're on TikTok, you've probably seen it everywhere. Even here on BookTube, it's getting more and more hyped. It's so good. It's so fantastic. I loved it so much. It is just cozy and heartwarming and perfect. I adored it. It was fantastic. There is going to be a prequel to this, which I will definitely be picking up. Honestly, it's arguable to be one of my favourite books of the year. It was that good. I enjoyed it that much. So that is 1000% a smash. I think overall for this month, we have had more smashes than passes, which is quite good. But let me know if you've enjoyed this sort of thing. I don't tend to do star ratings of books. I do put them through Corepile, which was created by G over at Book Roast. I'll have her linked below. So I do use Corepile to give me a star rating to then put it onto Goodreads, but in general I don't like saying a star rating. It's so subjective and that I prefer just giving you my thoughts, and I thought the smash or pass will then give you an idea of would I reread this or not, would I recommend, etc, etc. But let me know if you've enjoyed it. This was a bit of a different one, but I enjoyed it a bit more. Anyway, we're not going to get back into that. I've enjoyed this. I hope you have too. Let me know in the comments below what's been your favourite book of the month to read, and have you read any of these? And of course, let me know what you think of this type of video, if you'd like to see it again, or if you'd rather I just sat down and just did the general normal book review wrap up thing for the month. Let me know. For this video, I think the emoji of the day, if you've made it this far, will be, let's do an orange heart actually, because this book with all the orange around, yeah, orange heart. So orange heart if you've made it this far, and thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do give it that thumbs up, subscribe and comment to let me know that you're here. Those 3 things are so important to helping this channel grow, so thank you so much. As usual, my social media links will be linked below, and I will of course catch you in the next video.